and Rob cold water. As you can see, the reason I'm making this video is I'm getting a lot of calls at that time of year. People are closing their swimming pools, and there's a lot of people doing extra stuff that they don't need to be doing or they shouldn't be doing things wrong that's going to come back to bite them. So I'm going to do this video on how to close a swimming pool, and hopefully it'll help a few people, and we'll get going. So the first thing to do, I mean, this pool is brand new to me. I've never been to this pool before. So the first thing to do is to basically scout it out and see what I'm dealing with, right? So that I know how to react. So the first thing on is over here, the liner is popped out of the track. All right. So that's going to be the first thing that I'm going to repair for these people. We'll get that under control. Next thing, as you can see, the pool's a little bit off color. Like most people at this time of year, people stop using the swimming pool, and so it's time to turn off the pump. That's always a bad idea. Keep your water as clean as you possibly can until it's time to close. Now this pool here has a step right over there. You can't see it because of the leaves. There's a return jet. There's a return jet in the deep end right over here, and that's it. I was told by the homeowner that there is a bottom drain, so we will be addressing that when we winterize this. And obviously there's a regular skimmer for the looks of it here. It's a jacuzzi. There's a diving board. And then the equipment is over here in the corner, so we'll wander over here. And there we go. So we've got a single speed pump, we have a sand filter, and we have a heat exchanger. So this heating unit here is different from your gas ones, okay? So this is sort of the kind of same idea as a central vac. So the problem with these things here when we're winterizing, and it might be hard to see from this angle, is that when the water goes into these heater, it feeds at the lower one and comes out the taller one. So that means that when we're blowing out the system, we have to blow this out backwards, all right? Because, or we're gonna bring our blower over to blow it out backwards. Because as you can see, there's a check valve right there. So that's going to hinder us from trying to blow it the front ways through, right? Because we could have thrown this valve here, closed off this line, which it is, and then fed it up into here. But unfortunately, the water or the air won't go that way because of the check valve. We're going to have to undo that to make sure that we blow it out properly. Next thing is, we're going to check this. For our blowing out purposes, we're going to put this on recirculate. Now again, this pool here is, this equipment is outside, so we don't need to worry about spilling water on the ground or anything like that. All right. So my water is now boiling. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix that liner that's popped out of the track. So basically, all we're going to do, as you can see, we got some nice hot water here. We're going to put some in our mug. We don't need to use an awful lot. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to wander back over here. And of course, it's in the only wet spot on the entire deck, right? The only wet spot on the entire deck. That's where I have to kneel. You know, welcome to my luck. No, go away, puppy. Well, I'm just going to try and see if I can capture what I'm doing. So I can come over here. Sure, if you don't mind. So I'm just going to take this and put it right against the wall and use that hot water to heat up the vinyl. Once the vinyl is nice and hot, it'll stretch for me. Ow, son of a gun, that water's hot. And again, it's not a problem spilling it into the pool because the pool's full of water anyway. Alright, so now that that's done, our liner is a lot more stretchy. Or it's supposed to be. It's not going to cooperate. Alright, well, we'll get some more hot water on there and we'll do this a different way. So this is going to take a little bit of tools to get this in. But as you can see, we've already got almost half of it in already just by hand. So I'm going to get some more hot water on that later and finish that $3 tool. It's called a 3-in-1 wrench or a blue tool or all sorts of different things by all sorts of different people. So, and of course being left-handed, I'm going to have to do this backwards, but that's all fine. So now we can see the return jet here in the shallow end. So this thing here, it just locks into the, oh my gosh, there we go. Just locks into the teeth that are on the retainer. The retainer comes out, and so does the eyeball. Simple as that. So we're going to prep both of those. So this is the one in the shallow end. What I usually do is I usually leave it right here on the deck so that I know where my returns are, because I'm used to working with another person. So when I'm doing this alone, these little things are just redundant. But when I'm working with another person, then they will know where these returns are because they'll see them on the deck. So let's see, there's the other one right there. And again, not that I'm being a nosy Nelly or trying to mind somebody else's business, but I'm always looking at stuff. So I'm seeing a lot of red on this. That tells me that there's a lot of iron in this water that's in this pool. So I would always be recommending using a sequestrant to keep that metal in suspension so you don't get stains. Now these were both screwed in extremely tight. You don't need to have them screwed in that tight. There's no benefit to it. There's no advantage to it. These are only supposed to keep that eyeball in the hole. That's it. So it doesn't need to be crazy tight. Now I'm having a fun time trying to get this one to unscrew. Turning and turning and turning when it ain't coming out. Alright, I'm going to come back to that. So, there are going to be extra tools involved there. So the next thing to do is we're going to come over here to the skimmer and have to crawl under the hedge to get to the skimmer because too big to fit otherwise. So we're going to open the skimmer, we're going to pull out the basket, clean the basket, and we're going to look inside to assess. So again, this bottom drain is active in the swimming pool, so that little door that you can barely see down there is going to have to come out for the winter time. Right, looking at the rest of the skimmer, looks to be in pretty good shape, so we can move forward as far as that goes. So I can see from here that it's a Phillips head screwdriver, and that's what we're going to go and get. For the skimmer, so you're going to see some stuff that we do that might be a little bit different than what you're seeing. So by all means, in the comments, ask any questions you want to ask. I'm going to answer every single one of them, and hopefully, like I say, it'll shed some light for some people, relieve some stress, whatever you want to call it. So I've reassessed this, and I'm thinking because of the way that I'm going to winterize the bottom drain, I'm not going to need to take out that flap. So I could take out the flap if I really wanted to. I just don't think it's necessary at this point. What we're going to be doing, though, is we're going to be using this foam rope, all right, because there's no way to get the water out of this line. So what we have to do is protect it. So by inserting this foam rope, what it does is it gives that water something to crush when it freezes. So we've got a 2.5 foot long piece is going well down below the frost level of this region. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to put a yellow plug. No need for tape because there's already water on both sides. So I'm just going to slide that door out of the way and just screw in the rubber plug, the plastic plug. And all this yellow plug is there for is to keep that foam rope from popping out, right? So now our bottom drain line has been winterized. It's that easy. A lot of people like to use antifreeze. Again, we've been doing this for 25 years or so. Never used a drop of antifreeze if we don't have to, and this is one of those situations where we don't have to. Now the back port, that's the one that feeds the water into the front of the pump. And what we're going to do with that is I've got these pipes that I make. And as you can see, I have Tefloned the absolute life out of this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pipe and I'm going to screw it into the back port. All right. So essentially what I've done is I've extended their plumbing up above the water line of the swimming pool. All right. We're going to screw it in nice and tight so that it is watertight. And now what we can do is we can hook up our blower, our shop vac, whatever to this pipe and blow out the entire system. So that's going to be the next thing that we're seeing. As you can see, but it's time to hook up our blower and make sure everything else is in place and ready to go. And that's what's happening. So our blower is hooked up, as you can see. So we've extended it down. We've got an adapter that goes onto that pipe, and that'll allow us to blow out the entire system, because remember, the water is feeding at this point to the entire system. So we're just going to run back over to the equipment pad and get that all ready to go. We'll just walk over here to the equipment. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pull the basket out of this pump, because that doesn't need to be there for right now. All right, so go ahead and open this bad boy up. Again, try and clean out as much as we can. Right, give it a few little taps. Come on, wormy. Worms are so stupid. They don't know how to swim, but they insist on going into the water. There we go. So now our relatively clean basket, we can go ahead and put our lid back on. And again, make sure that there's no junk or debris or anything like that where the gasket goes, right? Because that's how we seal up the system. So there we go. Put this on. We're going to put it on relatively tight, but not crazy tight. And now it's time to start collecting stuff. So in this particular case, this is a pretty simple setup on this pool. The first thing that we're going to do is pull out the plugs, the drain plugs. Now, because this pump is located outside, we're going to take the drain plugs and we're just going to put them up here on top of the lid for now. All right. And there's another one back here. So one is for the suction side of the pump and the other is for the pressure side of the pump. Now that one there in the back is the pressure side. So we'll put both of those plugs up there, right? Because we don't need them for right now. But we're going to put them back in for winter because, again, it's going to help protect water from driving up into the pump after the system is closed down. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, while we're down here on our knees, is we're going to take off the drain plug for the filter, because again, we don't need that. Now, normally when I show up for a closing, the swimming pool has water at the operating level. In that case there, I would want to drain it down a little bit, and what I would do is I would drain it down by running a backwash, right? Clean the water for the winter time, and then in the spring you're good to go. Because the water is below operating level here, I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is just move forward. I'm going to take off the pressure gauge for winter, and of course, as I said before, I'm looking at everything. This is zeroed out. I know that it's working, so we're going to drop that in there. The next thing is this heater. So this is the disconnect for the heater. We want to make sure everything is turned off. Oh, a 220 plug, that's nice. Some regular plugs. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open up this box and make sure that everything is off, which it is. Now, why is that important? Well, because this has a pressure switch, which means it doesn't know if the water is moving, nor does it care if the water is moving. All it needs is pressure, and since our blower is going to provide pressure to clear out that water, it could activate the heater. So we want to make sure that that power is turned off. Now, that was the backwash vial. I'm looking at this stuff. You know what that is? That's sand from the filter. All right? That's what that is. That tells me that there may be an issue inside this sand filter with the laterals or the standpipe or something like that, that it's blowing the sand out past where it should be blowing out to. Usually that's a sign of a bad lateral, so that they all have to be changed. So now that our prep is done on the equipment, we can go all the way back over here and turn on our blower. Just like this. So now our blower is forcing air through the system, right? And this is the whole idea. This is the whole idea behind winterizing a pool, is to make sure that there's no water inside the pipes that's going to damage anything over the winter time. Now, I'm not worried about that right now. We got to follow the water. That pipe over there is sending water, or sending air, I mean, right now, to the front of the pump. So that's where we're going to go to first. We've already pulled out the plugs, and as you can see, we're getting water out of the pump. Alright? Now normally the back port drains out first, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this plug back in. Now that that plug is back in, we're going to see that this one dries up a little bit faster. So, the only water that we're seeing spraying there is actually the water that's on the slab. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this plug back in. So now, by putting this plug back in, I've increased the pressure to everywhere else in our system. Alright? So, again, following the water, we followed it up to there, that's all dry. Comes up through this pipe into the filter head. This on is circulating, which means that the water is just coming into the side of the valve and back out. They're coming down this pipe over to where our heater is. But again, right now our heater is bypassed because of this valve here. It's not a big deal because we have to take this apart anyway, but I'm going to blow it out just as if it was a regular heater. So we're going to open that, and then I'm going to close this to create pressure in the heater in order to make it blow back. So again, it's going to go back through this other pipe here and back to our swimming pool. Alright, and you can see we're still getting air back, and it's starting to snow. Son of a salty sea serpent. This is why, folks, we close on October 31st, because I don't close pools in the snow. So we're going to let this heater blow out a little bit. While it's doing that, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my filter wrench so that I can open up that heater. So even though we're blowing this out, we've been blowing the whole time, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close off our heater and open up our heater bypass. So now our pool again is blowing by bypassing the heater. So what I'm going to do is take off both of these couplers. What I'm going to do is pretend to open these couplers. Oh, there we go. And you can already see there's magic happening. Oh, son of a... Take that off. Make sure that there's no water in there. It's all nice and open. I'm just going to let it sit there for a little bit. Now, all of our bits and goodies I've been putting in this basket. So with our company, what we do is the basket for the pump is going to hold all the stuff that the equipment has. So when you're reassembling this in the springtime, if you have bits and pieces left over in this basket, you missed something. Alright? Likewise, the basket for the pump, or for the skimmer, I'm using that basket to hold all the bits and pieces for the swimming pool itself. So as you can see, I've got the eyeballs and I've got the retainers in this basket. This basket fits right inside this basket, right? And that's it. Everything is in one spot, so we're not going to lose anything. Another thing that I always recommend, Home Depot, buy one of those little $2 bins that has the folding fingers on it. Keep all of your stuff inside that. New phone, so my fingers get in the way. Keep all your stuff inside that bin. That way, if it gets knocked over or bumped, you still have all your stuff in one spot. And you can use it for winter and for summer, right? Because right now we're winterizing, so all the stuff for winter is going to go in that basket. In the springtime, all the stuff such as the plugs for the returns and the pipe and all that other stuff can go in that basket, so that you have all that available in order to be able to open your pool properly. And again, everything is going to be in the right place. So going back, all of our stuff, we followed our water all the way through the system, came into the pump, up through the filter, through the heater. We opened up the heater. Now we're on bypass and we're coming back to the pool. So now it's time for us to start plugging these jets. Okay, so I've got my my yellow plug all taped up with Teflon, and as you can see, don't be cheap with the Teflon. It's easier to tape it once than it is to have to pull it out and retape it 5 or 6 times. So basically, now that my water is going through, oh, and that's the other thing. A lot of people drain their pool down below the return jets. All right. That's perfectly fine. In the old days, that's what they used to do, because we were using shop vacs in order to blow out the system, and they didn't have much strength. By lowering the water below the return jets, it allowed gravity to take some of that water out. There was no resistance, and it makes it easier. I like blocking my returns when I've got water bubbling out like this, or air bubbling out through the water like this, because when I put my plug in, I can see instantly whether I've got a good seal or not. If there's all sorts of bubble seals coming out, I've got something going on. I need to pull that plug out and do it again so that I know that I've got it sealed. So I'm going to break the video right now. I'm going to go ahead and put in the return plug. And once I plug this one here, that one there is going to start bubbling like a monster. So that's the plan. Again, we just follow the air. As promised, I got that first one blocked off. There are no bubbles, so I know I've got a really good seal. I don't have to worry about that one leaking over the winter time. And as I said earlier, now that that one's blocked off, the only place for the air to go is in this return jet in the shallow end. So now I'm going to go over and do the same thing. And yes, my blower is going to scream up on me a little bit, but the fact is, I still have all sorts of open stuff over the equipment pad. And when I plug this up, it's got a place for that air to go, so it's not a big deal. Anyway, I'm going to plug this one up and I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. The return jet in the shallow end went relatively well. I took a face full of water, but what can you do? Can't be a pool guy and not expect it to stay dry all the time. So now everything is blown out. The only thing left to do is to take a number 8 plug and plug our pipe. And there we go, sealed. So, finishing this skimmer, we're going to be installing a styrofoam skimmer kit to protect it from winter. Essentially, what we try and do is, yes, there's water still in there. When water freezes and expands, it can double in size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use all sorts of foam, and I'm going to use pool noodles and anything else I can get my hands on. And we're going to displace probably 90% of that water, and anything that is left inside there will have the noodles to crush instead of the plastic. That's how we protect them. So the water level in the pool at this point is completely arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't need to be any lower. It doesn't need to be drained down. It's not going to overflow. It's not going to explode or any of that other stuff, right? Everything is sealed. The pipe, all the plumbing is sealed. It's all blown out. There's no water. Even if there is a little pocket of water, it's got plenty of room to expand because, again, 99% of the water has been removed from the pipes. There's not enough in there to cause any damage. So the next thing is to get some of this equipment out of the way and grab a foam kit, and then we'll plug up the skimmer, and then we'll do a final checkup to make sure that our closing is complete, and then we're going to move on to a safety cover. Okay, so I came back to the equipment pad and I checked everything over. So again, the plugs are in the bottom of the pump. There is no more water in there. I'm going to loosen these off, right? Just a little bit so that the gasket doesn't stay compressed, but I want it to stay sealed, all right? But it's not as if we're summertime where it has to be tight. The other thing is, I put the dial head in winterize, all right? If you don't have a marking for winterize, anywhere where it keeps the lever depressed, right? Like you can see, it's not seating all the way down. It takes pressure off the spring is what it's supposed to do. Now, the only thing left is this backwash hose. Now again, everybody's all in a panic about these backwash hoses. Oh my goodness, it leaks when I backwash. Well, don't worry, because that water's just going to waste anyway. It's not like you're trying to save it. So I'm going to loosen those off and take off this hose. Put the clamps back on. I'll leave that one nice and loose. This one I'll tighten up. So that they don't disappear over the winter time. I'm not going to actually remove the hose because it goes all the way over there and under the bush and out to the street and all that other stuff. But what I am going to do, my goodness, there's a whole rope-a-dope going on back there. So what I am going to do is I'm going to drain out some of the water that's in this thing. Okay. So here we have one of our foam kits for the skimmer. We started using these. We were doing everything using pool noodles, and pool noodles work fantastic. So if you don't have one of these, or if you can't find one of these, don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. The nice thing about these is that they fit right in and protect 95% of your skimmer without thinking, which in my case is a good thing. So it sticks out a little bit in the back here. We just take a barbecue skewer and we stick it in like this, just so that it stays in there, so it doesn't float out in the middle of the winter time and then you have a crisis that you got to go deal with. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, there's a lot of space down there. I was able to grab a noodle off of this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a knife, and I'm going to cut these down to about the size of a bottle. All right, so now I can actually go ahead and bring this all the way down, and I can cut it at about this length, which is about a foot. So we'll pull out my old knife saber. We'll cut 4 or 5 of these things. Sorry about that, folks. I dropped it. Hope it didn't hurt too much. So there we go. We got 5 of them out of this one noodle. And what we're going to do is we're just going to basically jam the ever-loving daylights out of this thing, right? So that one, like I said before, it's going to displace a lot of that water. And the other thing it's going to do is give us something to crush when that water freezes. So I'm cheating a little bit. Right? I folded one in half. But as you can see, I got a nice tight fit. And remember when we first started, that water was down not even halfway up in this pot. Now it's all the way up to the top. All right. We've also got this other styrofoam block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that in half, and that's going to complete our winterization. Again, there's no way that you can jam too much stuff into these skimmers to protect them. So don't be cheap. Closing your swimming pool is your $250 insurance policy on your $100,000 swimming pool. You know what I mean? So it's not where you want to economize. I got to say, that's one of the things that really makes me insane as a pool guy, is that people buy a $20,000 Corolla and they insist that they have to take it to the dealership to get the oil changed or else they won't have warranty. But they go out and they put a $100,000 pool in the backyard, and it's like, don't worry, hon, I got this. That's the wrong attitude, the wrong idea. Pay for the insurance. Make sure that you get everything done right. Oh, now look at this. Look at this Klingon here. Right? This pool has a safety cover, so he's got his cover anchor opener out. All right. So go ahead, raise one of those. Show them how this thing works. It's just a great big Allen wrench. And you put it in and you just raise them up. All right. Wash Rob's away. Rob's too fat and lazy to do stuff like that. So what I did is I went out and, right, it doesn't mean that I don't own the Klingon tool. However, if you take a second and go to Home Depot, buy the longest regular bit that you can use, which is a 1/4 inch, and then, now tell me that's not a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and finish opening up all these anchors, and then we'll come back for the actual cover. Okay. So all of my anchors are up, which is good. We had one that was completely seized, so we replaced it, right? Because these safety covers are based on having all their anchors working. Now, I have no idea how this cover's been rolled up, because I'm not the one who rolled it up. So basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to be looking for the patches that go over the corner of the stair. That's going to tell me my shallow end from my deep end. The other thing is, if you look at this angle here, this hedge is sticking out well over top of the deck, which means trying to take my pry bar and pry it up onto those anchors is going to be a real pain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my head a little bit. Once I get my step located and my cover started, I'm going to hand clip all underneath the cedar hedge, and then I have free access around the rest of the pool to be able to use my bar to put it in place safely. So in that case there, right now the cover is being opened up. We'll find the patches for the step. Hopefully it'll be right there for us. Open this up a little bit. Okay, seeing some anchors. And usually it's not too hard to find the stair. So to me this looks like it might be the deep end. Open this up a little bit this way. All right, well, it looks like it's going to be like that. Oh, there we go. There's the patch for the stair. So now that we know top and bottom, with left and right, we know that that's going to be the stair, which means that this is the deep end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this whole monster out across the open side of the pool, and then bring the far side under the hedge into place and hand string it that way. So I need both hands for this. I'll catch you in a bit. Okay, so the cover has been dragged out. We have our stair patches right here, so we know that's going to go on the corner of the stair. So that means if we find the corner of the stair thing, we should be able to find corresponding. So in this case here, we're going to have one to the side and one straight back. So there's one to the side, and there's one straight back. And now we can put a little bit of tension on this to keep everything in place. And then it's just a matter, we're going to go ahead, hook up behind the stair. Yeah, you won't be able to get that one, Alex. All right, and there we go. So now our stair is clipped. I can go ahead, grab this side, and I'm going to crawl underneath the hedge, and I'm going to hand clip all of this all the way across. Back in a minute. Okay, so I did my crawling, and I got this whole side hooked up. Now the thing is, as you can see inside here, there's a whole lot of dirt and corruption and stuff. I was having a hard time finding the anchors. Is that a big deal? Absolutely, it's not a big deal, because you can see these straps are designed to go straight. So if you hook it all up and you have one that you haven't found the anchor, the spring is going to point right to where that anchor is supposed to be. So you will be able to find it. So just basically do what you can as quick as you can, and then the rest will make itself evident. All right. So that being said, and there's one of the great reasons right there for having a safety cover, right? Because if this dog runs on top of the cover, it's not going to die. So yeah, I'm just going to go around with my bar and hook up the rest, and that's it. We'll have a complete finished closing on this pool. Okay, so here's a little pro tip. As you can see, we've already got some water on the cover. It's going to be a little bit difficult to get these long runs hooked up. Right now, the spring is right up at the top of the bar, which means our leverage is way off. All right. Now, of course, this guy's a bit of a galoot, so he's going to muscle through it. All right. So he got that one on, but it was a fight. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to not do that. What we're going to do is I'm going to grab a spot over here in the mid of the deep end, right over here on this side. This all has to get pulled out anyway, so it's not like I'm wasting time. Right? This all has to get pulled out. So by coming over here and grabbing one of these short runs over in the middle of the deep end, there's an anchor over here somewhere, right?
Right behind your foot, yeah.
So by grabbing one of these anchors in the middle of the deep end, now we're pulling against this strap instead of the entire pool. It's going to be a lot easier for us to do. The other thing is, if you're feeling extraordinarily lazy and you have a strap that's not tight, these need to be tight like a trampoline. If you have one, now you can see there's a good space here between the anchor and the spring. This one's not going to be loose. If it was loose and you just didn't feel like messing with it to shorten it, put a full twist. I just shortened it by about 1 inch. Right? It's not going to compromise the cover, and it'll let you get it on so that it's nice and tight. So that's about it. Gonna go back to hooking the rest of these up because I have a beer run to do just around the corner. All right, so there we go. The pool's all covered. The dog is safe. The kids are safe. Everyone's safe. The pool has been professionally winterized. There's no water in the lines. Everything is all dried up, put back together. The equipment pad is clear. Just a couple of little extra notes. Before you close your pool, if your water goes green like the water was in this pool, it's not really, in my opinion, worth putting in a closing kit. The closing kit is to try and help it recover in the springtime, so we want to put it in when the water's nice and clean. So always use a good quality kit. There's different types of kits out there. You can buy them all over the place, different levels. Usually, again, the more expensive kits, the ones around the $50 mark, are the ones that we use because we find that they work really, really well. Other than that, I don't know what else to tell you, man. The swimming pool is closed, and it's the end of the season. I hope to see everybody in the spring. When you're making comments, be kind. That's going to be basically our rule for our channel. If somebody wants to be really rude and ignorant, that's not going to fly with me. As far as the safety cover goes, a situation like this, had I been the installer, I probably would have moved these together so that they would share the one pin. However, this installer decided he was going to put one pin for each hook, which is really nice too. The other thing is those plastic sleeves, okay? So people seem to lose their mind over those plastic sleeves. That is only so that people like me don't pinch our great big fat sausage fingers in those springs. That's the only reason they put them on there. It's not to protect the deck, it's not to protect the spring, it's to protect me from hurting myself. I've learned, I've been pinched 1 or 2 times. I've learned that that's not a good idea, so I try not to do that as much as I can. In any case, folks, have a great day.